If you are always available to people, you may think it makes you reliable, kind, or valuable. But in reality, it often has the opposite effect. The more accessible you are, the less people feel the need to respect your time. And over time, they begin to take your presence for granted. This is not because people are bad. It is because human psychology naturally undervalues what is always available. And this is exactly why powerful individuals throughout history have always controlled their accessibility. If you are the kind of person who replies immediately, who is always ready to help, who rarely says no, you might have noticed something frustrating. People depend on you, but they don't always respect you. They come to you when they need something, but they don't prioritize you. And sometimes, despite giving your time and attention, you still feel overlooked. If that sounds familiar, it is not because you lack value. It is because you are making your value too easy to access. This is not about becoming rude, distant, or manipulative. It is not about ignoring people or pretending to be busy. It is about understanding how people perceive value and making sure you are not unintentionally lowering your own, because when you are always available without boundaries, you are not being generous. You are removing the need for others to respect your time. In this video, you will learn 3 important things. First, why constant availability actually reduces your perceived value. Second, how scarcity naturally increases respect and attention. And third, how to create boundaries that make people take you more seriously without damaging your relationships. As you watch, think about one area of your life where people expect you to always be available. Maybe it's work, relationships, or friends. That is the exact place where you may be losing influence without even realizing it. Human beings are wired to value things that are limited. When something is rare, it feels important. When something is always there, it feels ordinary. For example, if someone can reach you at any time, they don't have to plan, prioritize, or respect your schedule. But if your time is limited, people begin to treat it differently. They become more intentional. They value the interaction more. Your time works like any other resource. If you make it unlimited, people assume it has no cost. Number 1. Constant availability creates predictability. When you are always available, people quickly learn how you behave. They don't need to think about it. After a while, they just know. They know you will reply fast. They know you will pick up the call. They know you will adjust your plans if something comes up. At first, this feels like a good thing. You feel reliable. You feel useful. People come to you often, and it looks like you are important in their lives. Your phone is always active, and you are rarely left out of anything. But over time, something begins to change, and it happens very quietly. People stop checking if it's a good time before they call you. They stop asking carefully when they need something. Instead of asking, they start assuming. The question becomes more like a statement, because they already expect the answer. They have seen your pattern too many times. If you always respond immediately, they don't feel the need to be patient. If you always say yes, they don't prepare for a no. If you always adjust your schedule, they don't consider that you might have something else planned. It becomes normal for them. You might be in the middle of something important. Your phone lights up, and you see their name. There is no real urgency, but you still feel the need to respond right away. Not because they said it is urgent, but because that is what you have always done. So you pause what you are doing, reply quickly, and move things around again. From your side, it feels like effort. From their side, it feels normal. They don't notice what you interrupted. They don't think about what you postponed. To them, nothing unusual happened because you always behave this way. And slowly, this creates a bigger problem. There is no uncertainty in how you behave. People don't wonder if you will respond. They don't wonder if you will be available. They don't think about whether you might say no. They already know the outcome. And when there is no uncertainty, there is no anticipation. Nobody is waiting for your reply because it is already expected. Nobody is thinking about your time because it always seems open. Your attention starts to feel like something that is always there, something that does not run out. You can see it in small situations. You reply quickly, but they take their time. You make space in your schedule, but they cancel without much concern. You are consistent, but they don't feel the need to match your effort. It starts to feel unbalanced, but it is hard to point to one specific moment where it changed. The shift happens gradually. Each time you respond instantly, each time you agree without hesitation, each time you adjust your plans, you are showing people that your availability is constant. And once people believe something is constant, they stop treating it as something valuable. They start treating it as something that is always there, like part of their routine. When something becomes part of a routine, people stop paying attention to it. They stop appreciating it, not because they are trying to disrespect you, but because there is no reason for them to think about it anymore. It is predictable, and predictability removes the sense that something could be lost. If people never feel like they might lose access to your time, they don't feel the need to be careful with it. They don't feel the need to respect it. They don't feel the need to earn it. So your attention slowly changes in value. It moves from something that is appreciated to something that is expected. When you are appreciated, people consider you. They ask, they wait, and they notice your effort. But when you are expected, people assume. They don't pause. They don't think twice. And they don't notice what it takes from you. The difference is not loud, but it is real. And it starts with one simple pattern. You were always available. So people stop seeing your time as something limited. And once your time no longer feels limited, it no longer feels valuable. You are still there, still responding, still showing up, but it doesn't feel the same anymore. Because when something is always there, people stop noticing that it is there at all. Number 2, overavailability signals low priority. People don't decide how important you are based on what you say. They look at how you treat your own time. Your actions show them what matters to you, and they take that seriously. Even if they don't say it out loud, you might tell people that you are busy. You might say your time is important. But if you keep interrupting yourself to respond to them, your actions send a different message. For example, you could be in the middle of something that matters to you. You are working, or resting, or focusing on something you plan to do. Then, your phone lights up. You see the message. It is not urgent, but you still feel the need to reply immediately. So you stop what you are doing. You respond. Then you try to return to what you were doing before. It feels like a small thing, but when it happens often, it starts to form a pattern. You pick up calls even when it is not a good time. You reply to messages before finishing your own tasks. You rearrange your plans to fit other people's requests. From your point of view, you are being helpful and responsive. But from their point of view, they are learning something about you. They are learning that your time can always be interrupted. They may not think about it consciously, but they notice that you are easy to reach. They notice that you adjust quickly. They notice that you make space for them without hesitation. Once people see that pattern, they begin to adjust their own behavior. They stop worrying about whether it is a good time to contact you. They assume you will respond. They expect you to be available. They become more comfortable taking their time because they have not seen any sign that your time is limited. You can see this in simple situations. You send a message and reply quickly when they respond. But when you message them, they may take longer to reply. They may see your message and leave it for later. They may respond when it is convenient for them. At first, you might not think much about it. But over time, the difference becomes clear. You are adjusting your time for them, but they are not adjusting their time for you. This creates an imbalance. You are putting in more effort to maintain the interaction. You are the one making sure things keep moving. You are the one responding quickly and staying available. They are more relaxed. They reply when they can. They do not feel any urgency. This does not always happen because they are trying to take advantage of you. It happens because of the pattern they have learned. If your time always seems flexible, they will treat it that way. If your time always seems available, they will assume it is not limited. People tend to protect what looks limited, and they take for granted what looks unlimited. So if your time always appears open, they will not feel the need to respect it in the same way. They will not feel the need to respond quickly. They will not feel the need to match your effort. They will not feel like they might lose access to you. And that changes the dynamic. In any interaction, there is a balance of effort and attention. It is not something people talk about, but it is always there. When one person consistently gives more time, responds faster, and adjusts more often, it starts to look like they are more invested. The other person, without thinking about it, becomes less careful. They feel more comfortable taking their time. They feel less pressure to match the same level of effort. Over time, the person who appears more available can start to look more dependent, not because they actually are, but because of how their behavior is interpreted. And when someone appears more dependent, the way they are treated begins to change. The other person may not prioritize them in the same way. They may delay responses. They may not consider their time as much. The difference is not obvious at first, but it becomes noticeable over time. You start to see that you are the one waiting more. You are the one adjusting more. You are the one making more effort to keep the connection active. Nothing is said directly, but the pattern is clear. Your time is flexible. Their time is fixed. And people tend to value what looks fixed more than what looks flexible. So, without saying anything, you have shown them how to treat your time, and they respond to that signal. Number 3. Scarcity increases respect. People often decide what is valuable based on how available it is. When something is limited, they pay more attention to it. When something is always available, they stop thinking about it as something important. This is a simple pattern you can see in everyday situations, and it also applies to your time and attention. If you are always available, people get used to it. They don't think about whether it is a good time to reach you. They don't feel the need to plan. They assume they can contact you whenever they want, and that you will respond. But when you are not always available, their behavior changes. For example, if someone knows you don't always reply immediately, they approach you differently. Instead of calling without notice, they might send a message first to check if you are free. Instead of asking for something at the last minute, they give you more time. Instead of assuming you will say yes, they wait for your answer. Nothing has been explained directly, but they adjust. This happens because your time now looks limited, and when something appears limited, people treat it with more care. They don't want to waste it, and they don't want to lose access to it. You can notice this in small situations. When your replies are not always immediate, people pay more attention when you do respond. They read your messages more carefully. They don't take your attention for granted, because they are not sure when they will have it again. When your schedule is not always open, people plan around it. They check your availability instead of assuming it. They confirm plans instead of leaving them uncertain. These are small changes, but they show a shift in how you are perceived. When your time is always available, it feels easy to access. People don't feel any pressure to respect it, because they believe it will always be there. But when your time is limited, it feels more important. People become more aware of it, and they start to treat it differently. This is not about trying to control how people behave. It is about understanding how people naturally respond to what they see. They don't measure your importance based on what you say. They look at patterns. They look at how available you are. They look at how easy it is to reach you. If it is always easy, they assume your time is not under pressure. If it is not always easy, they assume your time matters. As Machiavelli pointed out, people respond to what they perceive. What they see on the surface often shapes how they behave, even if they don't fully think about it. In this case, what they see is access. If they can reach you at any time, they assume your time is always open. If they cannot always reach you, they assume your time is limited. That assumption changes how they interact with you. They become more careful about when they contact you. They think more about what they say. They take your time more seriously, because they are aware that it is not always available. And that is where respect begins to change. Not because you asked for it, but because your time no longer looks like something that can always be used. Number 4. You train people how to treat you. People don't consciously decide how they will treat you. They don't plan it out. They learn it from your actions. Every interaction shows them what to expect, not from your words, but from what you do. If you reply immediately every time, they get used to instant responses. If you always say yes, they get used to your agreement. If you are always available, they get used to reaching you whenever they want. It doesn't take long for this pattern to form. A few repeated moments are enough. For example, someone sends you a message and you reply right away. They send another message later and you reply just as quickly. After a while, they stop thinking about whether you are busy. They stop waiting. They assume you will respond. Or someone asks for a favor and you agree. They ask again another day and you agree again. Eventually, they stop wondering if you will say yes. They expect it. The question becomes routine. This is how people learn your patterns. They notice repeated behavior, not isolated actions. Every fast reply, every automatic yes, every moment of availability becomes part of their understanding of you. Once something is predictable, people stop questioning it. They continue acting the same way because nothing has shown them otherwise. The pattern becomes the standard. Even a small change in your behavior can feel significant to them. If you take longer to reply, it stands out. If you say no instead of yes, it surprises them. If you are less available, they notice. Most people aren't trying to take advantage of you. They are simply following the patterns you have set. If it has always been easy to reach you, they will continue to reach out the same way. If you have always made things work, they will rely on that. Over time, these patterns are hard to change. You are not just adjusting your behavior, you are adjusting their expectations. They are used to a version of you, and changing that version requires them to rethink what they have learned. That is why over-availability can become a problem. By being consistently available, responsive, and agreeable, you are training people to expect it. And once they expect it, they act accordingly. They don't reconsider. They don't adjust. They simply follow the pattern you created. In other words, how people treat your time is not just about what they want. It is largely about what you have taught them to expect. Number 5. Controlled availability creates value. The goal is not to disappear or ignore people. It's not about avoiding them or being distant. The goal is to decide when you are accessible instead of being constantly available. Controlled availability means making choices about your time. It means you don't respond instantly to every message. You don't say yes to every request. You don't rearrange your schedule automatically to fit other people's needs. For example, if someone asks for help while you are busy, you acknowledge the request but respond when it fits your schedule. You stay present, but on your own terms. You don't make yourself endlessly available. When you do this consistently, people notice. They see that your attention is not unlimited. They understand that getting your time requires consideration. They can't assume it will always be there. And when something is limited, it becomes more valuable. People begin to plan around your availability. They start taking interactions more seriously. They don't treat your time as something to take for granted because it has a clear structure. Controlled availability doesn't make you unhelpful or distant. It simply gives your time weight. It makes the moments you are present meaningful. It changes how people perceive and respond to you. Instead of your time being expected, it is recognized. Instead of your attention being automatic, it is appreciated. People adjust naturally because they understand that access to you is not infinite. When you manage your availability, your presence carries value. People notice it, they consider it, and their behavior changes accordingly. For the next few days, observe your behavior. Notice how often you respond immediately. Notice where you feel pressure to be available. Notice when you say yes without thinking. Then, choose one specific situation. In that situation, do something different. Delay your response, set a boundary, or simply say no. Do it calmly and without over-explaining. You are not rejecting people. You are protecting your time. Being less available is not about playing games. It is about respecting yourself. Your time is one of your most valuable resources, and if you treat it as unlimited, others will too. But when you treat it as limited, people begin to see its value. Boundaries do not reduce your importance. They define it. If this helped you understand how people perceive value, subscribe to The Less You Look. Because power is not about doing more. It is about knowing what not to give away. In the end, influence is not built by being constantly present. It is built by being intentional with your presence. When you are always available, people stop noticing you. But when your time is limited, your presence becomes meaningful. And what is meaningful is what people learn to value.